Well, today we're here and we're going to actually, instead of just talking about making feathers, we're actually going to start making them. What we have here is a blank core. We have one that's just been started and just has the end feather on it. What we're going to do is we're going to add a feather to this one, and so we can kind of see how feathers are added to these. We'll start this one with the feather on the end. So we'll have an idea of how to start it, how to add feathers. This one already has the end feather and one white feather, and we're going to add a red scalp to that so that we can get an idea of how to add scalps. And then finally, this one here has already a red scalp on it, and what we're going to do is add some deer white to this one. And those are the four basic things that you do, or three actually. Start with the feathers. If you can add feathers, if you can add scalps, and if you can add deer white, those are basically the three things that you're going to need to do in order to make these feathers. We have our plyo bond, which we're going to use to put a little bit of glue on them so that these things will stay in place. We have our thread and our bobbin to tie them on. We're going to need a razor to cut the scalp and the deer white, the hide. Scissors, all of these tools that we talked about earlier. And to start it out, we have the wire cutters here. Got my little Starbucks stick, or I guess we call it a glue spreader, or it's all kinds of handy things. And if we need it, we have a bodkin here, just a needle stuck into a cork. And the first one we're going to do is starting with a blank, and we're going to add a feather to the end of it to get it started. So we'll go ahead and we'll start at this end here. Go ahead and trim it off there so that we have a nice end to work with here. I'm going to take our string. Let's see, I'm right-handed, so I generally wrap to the right, and we'll get it started here. Wrap it over itself a little bit, and then take it down here and make sure that that string is not going to unwind on us. Very important, trim off the piece you don't want, not the piece you do. We'll cut this off of here. And I learned that the hard way. Okay, so we have our thread on there. We're ready to add some glue and put a feather on it. And part of what we do here is prepare the feather. And you can see what we have here. These are two of their pheasant feathers. And you're not going to use both of them, just one of them, but sometimes it takes two or three to make a good coverage on the core. But basically, you're going to come into right about where it starts to even out here and strip down the feather. You see that? So what you end up with is something like that. And that's what we want. Now we're going to put a little bit of glue on it. With a little bit on the end of the core here. And the glue, what you want it to do is get tacky. So you don't want to glue your feather on there right off the bat. We'll let that sit and just dry just a little bit. And then as for the feather, what we're going to do is put just a little bit of glue on the feather as well. So if you can kind of stretch it. Oops. Grab it there. Stretch it something like that so that it looks thinner. And then we're going to put a little bit of glue here on our table, right on the U there. And then get our stick. Put just a little bit of glue on the feather. Okay, that ought to be plenty. Now, while it's kind of drying in that position, I want to mention that I have on the table here a piece of cardboard that's actually got this shiny surface on it. And so when I'm gluing and stuff, this, you can put the glue on here and use it like a well. I'll go ahead and put this nice and tacky. So we've got this feather started here. You can see the glue is holding it on, and you just kind of wrap the feather around the core, and sometimes you can kind of just gently roll it in your fingers like that, and that'll really set it in there. Okay, once we get the core in, or the feather onto the core, we're going to go ahead and wrap with the thread here, make sure it stays on. And kind of the trick here is when you're up toward this end, toward the end of the feather, if you pull real tight, it'll flare out, and you don't want that. So a little bit looser at this end, and then as you come down, you can get it tighter here if you want. So there's that feather on there. We'll just finish it up with some half hitches. Down here. Start. Now we'll trim that string now. When I'm making these, what I'll do is I'll have all 6 of them laid out here. And then as I finish one, I'll go on to the next one, to the next one, and the next one. We're not doing that here because we're just kind of demonstrating how to tie the feathers on. But in a normal situation, that's what you would do, is you'd have all 6 of them here. And that also helps you to measure one against the other to make sure you don't get too far off on the the spacing of the different courses that you're putting on, so they look even. You can put glue on here at this point if you want, but you don't have to, because the next course you're going to be putting just a little bit of glue on here, and that'll hold the thread in place as you go. All right, well, the second thing we're going to do here is add a feather under this first one, kind of like that. And these are commercial feathers here. They're not, I don't know what they are, a duck or something, but basically you're doing the same type of thing where you're stripping the feather down from where it's kind of straight on the end like that. And then the other side, same thing. trim that off. Now there's a curve on the feather where it's kind of cupped on one side. The other side is ballooned out a little, it's rounded out. So one is concave and the other's convex or something like that. So you want the part that's like that to go against the to go against the core. You put it on like that and it's more likely to stick up, and you don't want that. So we're going to do the same kind of thing we did before. Put just a little bit of glue on the core. And then stretch the feather out. And we'll put just a little glue on the feather. The glue actually turns out was it's pretty important. And I tried this without glue and it doesn't work. The feathers don't stick on, and they don't stay in position very well. And I was talking to my wife's uncle, Anthony Risling, and he made a whole bunch of sets of these for the school up in Hoopaw years ago. And he said, well, yeah, you have to have a little bit of glue on there. He thought originally it was sturgeon glue that would have been used. All right, so this is ready to stick onto the core, and we're going to do it like we did with the end piece here. It's important to take a look at another one that's already finished to get an idea of how much you're going to cover this. You can kind of see for these two to be even, it'll be somewhere right about there. And then we'll kind of wrap this around like so. Wrap this one around here like so. And like I say, just kind of roll them a little bit in your finger to put the feather down. And there's that one. Now we'll tie it off with the thread so that it will stay put. Just wrap the thread around itself a few times. Put some half hitches into it.